Hello Year 2 parents, this is Miss Turner and I just thought I'd make a little video for you in order to address some of the queries that some parents have been coming into us about. Now, as you will start to discover, teaching children of this age can be quite tricky, not only because they have very limited attention spans, but also because they need quite a lot of support. And obviously as teachers, we have 30 children to teach a lesson to, often all on our own or just with one other person, to help those that maybe struggle a little bit with their writing or coming up with ideas. So I thought it might be good to give you some tips as to what we teachers use in order to be able to do that and to be able to get children to think for themselves and to work more independently, because obviously we can't sit with 30 children all at the same time to help them with the tasks that they've been set. Now, let's take today's geography poster task as an example. So today we were asking you to do a tourism poster with your children. And at the beginning of every lesson we have something called a WALT, we are learning to. So today's WALT would have been, we are learning to make a tourism poster. And that's something that the children would understand as their objective, and that's what they've got to do, that's their task. Next, what we'd be doing is we'd be discussing that task. So we might be discussing some ideas such as, what do you think you need in a poster? Why do we have posters? What are the features of posters? Just to get some understanding of what they already know about posters, so that they've got already those cogs working in their head. And it gives them a little bit of input as well, rather than someone just talking to them. Lets us know how much they already know. Second of all, if we have a video or tutorial, then yes, by all means, get them to watch it, or you watch it first perhaps to see whether or not that's something that they're going to want to watch, or if it's more something for you, like this video now. And then what you can do is you would discuss what's happening in the video. So today's video, for example, on the PowerPoint that I created, it gave you some guidelines as to what we might be expecting from that poster. What you should do then is you discuss it afterwards with your child and make some notes for them, write it down so that it's a bit of a framework for them to refer back to, so that you're not always having to think and remind them of that next step. Children of this age now should be able to read fairly simply something that's written down in a simple format. So for example, after today's video, I would have suggested that you write down success criteria. And they know that as something that we talk about in school. That's what you are going to be able to do in order to be successful in your learning today. To create a poster, you're going to need to use bright colours. You're going to need to use big lettering. You're going to need to think about your layout, remembering that reading from top to bottom, left to right. You're going to think about pictures and what you're going to include in your iconic images of England and London. You're also going to need to think about putting your facts in, remembering that this is a tourism poster and we're thinking about things like, where is England? How are they going to get there if they're a tourist? And more importantly, why should they come? What is it about England that is so fantastic? Now, once you've done that and you've explained to them the purpose of the task, you've then written some sort of success criterion, said, okay, these are the things you need to include in your poster, so they can even sometimes tick them off once they've done it. You can then think about your key vocabulary. Now, post-its are a great way to get them engaged. They love writing on post-its and sticking them on things. So some of the key vocabulary that you would have been thinking about for this poster are things like our imperative verbs, our bossy verbs. So I mentioned some on the video, and they would have been things like visit. Not sure that's going to stick. No. Explore. We would have had words like come. So you could have gone to them and said, what words do you remember from Miss Turner's video? And they might have come up with these ones that I came up with. What you should do then is you should think about adding to those. Maybe thinking about some better words that you could use and come up with them together. They could have been words like discover. They could have been words like experience, we'd also want to be thinking about those other keywords and the spellings of them in particular. So I was talking about keywords such as, obviously we're going to need to have England. That's a pretty keyword. And we had to remind them that there's a capital E in England. We would need to be thinking about words such as cities and beaches and culture. I'm going to have to stick these together all in one go. And we would also be thinking about some adjectives that we can put in our sentences. What makes England so amazing? Well, it's inspiring, it's often fascinating, and it could be amazing. So we think about some adjectives that we could use as well. So before we'd set the children off and say, okay, off you pop, go and do it, we would be really setting them up already with a bank of resources that they could be using. And we would have this up on the wall in a similar way to what I'm doing now. And that's something that you could do just with scraps of paper, anything that you have around the house. If you have post-its, fantastic, so you love a bit of that. And don't forget London, which is a proper noun as well. I'm going to put that with my England one. And you'd be giving them resources for them to work, a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, putting it all together. So once we've done that, we've gone through the wall, we've done the success criteria, we've gone through some keywords and key vocab that they can use. What we often do is we create something called a waggle, what a good one looks like. And we will create that together with the children so that they get an idea of how to construct something. Because let's face it, they are little, they don't have the experience that we have, and they don't have the children that they would normally be sitting next to bounce ideas off. So they will be reliant on you to a certain extent to give them that bank of ideas that they can work on. Look at images, for example, on the internet of posters, and to give them inspiration and ideas of what a good one would look like. And that's what I gave also on my PowerPoint as well, some examples of images that they could use. So once we've done that, we would be maybe thinking about writing one of those sentences, because a lot of the work that came in was fantastic. It had a lot of images and there wasn't a lot of writing to go with them. So if you want to try and encourage your children to write, we need to equip them with the tools. So once we've created that word bank, we can be thinking about a sentence that they could write. If they came up with something simple, such as, discover our amazing beaches, that's brilliant. But we then also would be stretching them a little bit and saying, okay, that's a great sentence, but how could we make that better? How could we add a word in, for example, like a conjunction, which makes our sentences longer? We could maybe put in, discover our amazing beaches, which are, and then I might say to them, what adjectives could you use to describe a beach? And they might come up with hot, sandy, and beautiful. And I might even then say to them, what about punctuation? What could we put at the end there? Would we put a full stop, or could we put something more exciting? How would I say, which are beautiful? And then they would hopefully come back and say, I put an exclamation mark. So, we would have created a what a good one looks like. We would have discussed words that they could use. They should have a tick list of things. Have they used bright colours? Have they used big letters? Have they used pictures? What have they got yet to do? And then by the end of it, you should have a poster which has more or less fulfilled all the criteria that we set in that short little video. Now, a lot of the input should only really take 10-15 minutes, and then really the work is theirs. Once they've been equipped with that, then they can go off and they can work hopefully on their own whilst you get on with some jobs or some work of your own. So do let us know if there's any tips that you would like or anything you're struggling with, As this period of time looks like it may go on longer after Easter, it may be that we will be setting some more work that's a little more formal looking, but obviously we don't want you to be overwhelmed by any of it. You are not teachers, and we want to be able to equip you as parents as much as we would try to equip the children if we're at school. We are here to support you. Please do send us any dojos if you are struggling, and I hope that this video has helped in some way to get those children on task in the weeks ahead. Take care and enjoy the Easter holidays. I'll be seeing you very soon.